A very warm welcome, and on the programme this week, why an infamous Afrikaans language weekly is making its return 25 years after closing its doors. How a lifestyle platform and an alcohol brand are teaming up to give women a seat at the table. And a big sports apparel brand adds its voice to the hands-off Custer debate. This is Mags on Meek. And we are going to start this week with this story. And infamous for getting up the noses, under the skin of the then Apartheid government, a pioneering Afrikaans language weekly. You remember it, it's called Vrye Weekblad, was forced to close its doors 25 years ago amid a bitter lawsuit involving journalist Jacques Pauw's exposure of the Vlakplaas death squads. At the time, the founding editor, Max du Preez, had some choice words about all of that, the issue that forced the shutdown. But now, the publication is being raised from the proverbial grave, so to speak, as the publisher Tiso Blackstar has announced the revival of the Vrye Weekblad, this time, though, in digital form. Let me take you to Cape Town. Max du Preez is standing by to talk to us. First of all, the energy. Where do you find it to do something like this again?
In abundance, and this is an exciting venture, and we are raring to go. It is such a nice challenge to revive an iconic brand. You know, one of the few brands in media that hadn't been sullied over the years, mostly because we didn't publish, but it's there. People remember it. And to revive it and step up to a higher level is a fantastic challenge. And I guess it's my last stand in journalism.
I think I might know the feeling, Max du Preez, as far as that's concerned, but we'll talk about that over a drink sometime. Why now, though, in this current political climate? What convinced you to do it?
I think it's mostly disillusionment with the state of the media in South Africa. I think it's pretty poor. I think we can be very proud of a small handful of investigative journalists who have done South Africa proud. But the media generally are shallow. Credibility is not very high. That is especially true of the Afrikaans speaking market. Other things I think that played on our minds was a growing sense of victimhood among especially white Afrikaans speakers, sort of aided and abetted by some right-wing pressure groups. And I think it is false, but there is a sense of alienation. And that's exactly why we started in 1988 to say, you are not a separate people, you're not a separate nation, you're not a folk, you are part of the South African nation. And you should feel part, and you should act as if you're a part of it. And the only thing that distinguishes you is that you speak Afrikaans. And so we back with progressive journalism, unashamedly progressive, aiming very high at world-class journalism. Serious journalism, but accessible journalism. The one thing that I feel strongly about, Jeremy, is the idea that high-quality journalism is dense, is inaccessible, and it doesn't need to be. So it's in the writing style, it is in the presentation, and it is in the design. And we hope to get all those things right. We don't belong to a pressure group or a company or a party or an ideology. So we can offend everybody as we did last time, and we intend to do just that. Those in power will feel our disrespect.
You talk, Max du Preez, about the market, but you're entering into a very difficult market right now, particularly in this digital space. I look at competitors, and they will be competitors like the Daily Maverick, for instance, and even the revived Rand Daily Mail online.
Yes, and we will have to see. This has not been tested, certainly not in Afrikaans. We are not in opposition to Afrikaans newspapers because they do Super Rugby and Steve Hofmeyer and celebrities and car crashes and scandals. We're not going to be bothered with those. We're not going to try and cover the news. The news will be covered by social media and by the radio. So by Friday morning when we come out, people will know what happened. We will want to say to them, can we suggest that this is the way you should understand it? By getting intelligent experts to analyze and for people to write opinion pieces. Afrikaans is the third biggest language in the country. It is badly served by its media at the moment, kind of going for the lowest common denominator. And we know from own experience, from our wider, broader circle of friends, that there are a lot of progressive Afrikaans speakers, but not only progressives, people who are curious, who want to know, who want to understand the world that they live in. And that is exactly what we want to do. And I think it's not being done very well in South Africa at the moment. So when we look at internationally, we're looking at an Afrikaans version of New Yorker magazine, for instance. That's the kind of feel, and there's nothing like that. We're competing directly with Netwerk 24, and I don't think that is even competition. We're going for a discerning reader, a more thinking reader, and so it's not going to be massive, but we have a lovely model, a supple model of 4 staff members so far. It's myself, Jacques Pauw, Anneliese Burgess. The 3 of us not only worked together in the old days, but also we worked together in the Truth Commission Special Report, and we started Special Assignment together. So we're a team, an old team. We have an office in London. Adri Kotze, who's an experienced person, also worked with us. And then we have the freedom to pick the best minds in the country and say, will you write about this for us? Will you analyze this for us? What is your opinion about this? Instead of having 10 members of staff that you have to pay salaries and medical aid and pension, we have a nice, supple model that I think will keep the costs low, but we will be behind a fairly expensive paywall.
Well, that was my next question. So people are going to have to pay for the content. Also, access to what you term high-quality journalism is also predicated on money, on resources, which you've addressed, but also advertising. Are you convinced that you have analyzed and studied all of that to give your owner some return on investment?
We hope that we're going to make Tiso Black Star a lot of money by the end of next year. This is their model. They've done the research before they came in with us. And let me quickly explain perhaps our relationship. We have a publishing agreement with Tiso Black Star Group. We're using their platform. They're very experienced with Business Live and Times Live and Dispatch Live. And they're financing the whole operation. But we own the title. The brand is ours. It remains ours. We don't have offices with Tiso Black Star, and we have an iron-cast agreement on editorial freedom. So we're very comfortable with Tiso Black Star. And their research apparently says our primary source of income will be the paywall. But advertising, we will have to see. I think there's a sought-after market, obviously higher income people, educated people, and you zoom in because it's a specialized group. So I hope advertising will also be good, but we should survive behind a paywall of, say, 120, 130 rand a month.
Well, for those of us who remember, we are certainly looking forward to the reincarnation of the Vrye Weekblad in Cape Town. Max du Preez, thank you very much indeed. Next on the program, a global chief executive weighs in on the role of the big network advertising agency in an ever-changing marketing and advertising environment. This is Max on.